everybody, we're in New Orleans, Louisiana for the first time ever in our life, even being in Louisiana. So we came to a Mardi Gras place. I'll have to know the complete name by the time I do the top of this video. But anyway, it is really nice. As you can see, they do the floats here, and it's out here beside the water. It's really nice. So, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. It's called Mardi Gras World. That's where we're at, in New Orleans, Louisiana, before I forget where we're at again. And that's our little tour group today. We had a bigger tour group, but that's the family right there. So we're going here. It's Mardi Gras World, Blaine, Kern Studios in New Orleans, Louisiana. I need that in my life. I need that. It's $14, but I need that. It's so cute. Yeah, I've never seen one like it before. It's $7. This might have to end up being my souvenir. It's only $12. So that represents everything. It's New Orleans, it's the alligator, it's Mardi Gras. Oh, I don't have the baby in mine. I said I don't have the baby in mine.
The cruise headquarters, those are called their den, the cruise float den. And then the floats live at the den. And over the next days and weeks after Mardi Gras, we're going to send our artists and techs to go strip the floats of all the decorations and the props and pretty much anything that we can take off of the floats. Sorry, that's going to kick off in a minute. It's just our compressor. I apologize. It's a noisy place in here. So as a general rule, the crews don't actually own their props. They do own their floats. So the trailer with the wheels, we build them and then we sell them to the crews outright. And that way we're not garaging hundreds and hundreds of these big old sons of guns. We let them worry about that, but we're going to rent them the props. So the stuff on the floats during a parade, 9 times out of 10, does not belong to that parade. They're just using it for that one Mardi Gras season. So kind of to your question earlier about if you ever use the same float twice in one season, no. Short answer is there's actually a rule that says you can't have a float roll twice in one Mardi Gras season unless it's been at least like, I think 75 or 80% redecorated. So kind of an abstraction, but the idea is you don't want to duplicate things. But you might actually see the same prop a few years apart in different parades.
Do the crews have to come to you guys?
We're not the only company that decorates floats. So they do not have to come to us. Most of them do. We've been around the longest, so like of the 34 parades last year, we did 16 of them. And they're the 16 bigger parades. Pretty much all of the biggest parades work with us. So It's hard. That's not styrofoam. He's made out of a molded material. I don't know if it's fiberglass or resin, but to keep it simple, we'll just call it liquid plastic, basically. He's a plastic action figure. We have our Ken doll. We also have a Barbie doll. These are unofficial names that I use for them. No one else does. Ken is the generic boy. Barbie is the generic girl. They all kind of have the same general pose, same kind of size. Now, the way these props work is you're going to take your molded fiberglass piece, and then you're going to dress it. So all of this stuff, it's not styrofoam, it's a different material called ethifoam, which I'll show you later on when we get to we'll see some of it out there. I've got some of it in my pocket, so spoiler alert, but you'll see the rest of it later. Ethifoam is how we make clothes for the props. So these dolls or figures, the way they get used is basically they get dressed and that turns them into X, Y, or Z. So like one of them that we made for this upcoming year, upcoming parade season, he's a scuba diver. He's not a specific scuba diver. He's not James Bond from that one James Bond movie where he wears a scuba suit. He's just a guy in a scuba suit. So this is a good way to do kind of like generic profession-based props, if that makes sense. If you want a character to look just like James Bond, you're gonna have to sculpt James Bond though, so it's a little different. Now these pieces over here, these barrels, wine casks, I guess, they're gonna go on the side of a float. If you see a prop that's thin like that, only a few inches thick, you can pretty much always assume it's gonna go on the side of a float. Floats are big blank canvases, you gotta do something with the side. We'll paint on them, but if you can break it up with a little bit of 3D like this, it's kind of cool. Now these barrel props were not made using the same technique that you saw in the video. These are not made by hand using that layering technique. These were actually sculpted on our robot. So we have a robot nowadays. Her name is Pixie. She's basically a big CNC router. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry, you'll see her later. She's actually right on the other side of this wall. And hopefully she'll be in action working on something. But she's a big programmable model making machine. Any questions though so far? All right, well, we'll keep on moving. We don't make props out of paper mache anymore, but we still have to use it as one of the processes because you can't paint directly on styrofoam. We're able to paint on top of it, essentially. So that's what happens in a lot of these workstations. Now this prop here is a cool one. It's kind of, she's both new and old. They kind of basically cut the face out, sculpted a new one, and slotted it in there. And so at this point, she's been, paper mached, and now she's being painted to go back out. So audience is always going to be seeing something new. Yeah, you can't make every single piece brand new every single year, but when possible, you really don't want people saying, oh, I saw that last year, because that's just going to, So this is the adhesive we use on the foam. It's called Great Stuff, and you've got it in your house. Maybe not in a can, but you've got it in your attic or in your basement. It looks like this. So it's an insulation. So most people have it in their attic or their basement or around their pipes sometimes. It's a foaming material, so you're gonna spray it out, it's gonna foam up. So use it as an insulation because you can spray it in the cracks, it foams up, makes a seal, saves you money on your electricity bill. Most people don't. So this is a curry comb or a horse brush, or the most epic name I've heard for it is a de-shedding blade. But it is a brush you'd use on like livestock or cattle. So it's got these metal teeth, and you wouldn't want to use it on your hair, but for like horses, cattle, animals with coarse fur, it's good for them. Now we use it on styrofoam. So you go at a block of foam, and you can start whittling it down. It's got these teeth, so it really can dig in and pull those little beads apart. It also is super enjoyable. So does anybody want to give it a shot? I was gonna say, come on guys. Basically it's a cheese grater, but not as sharp. I think it's used in drywall installation usually. But just like the curry comb, you're gonna use it on the block of foam. Now, you'll notice it's pulling a lot less off. The rasp, because of the way it's designed, like a cheese grater, it basically scrapes along the surface and kind of cuts the top of the little pellets off. So it flattens it out a lot more than the curry comb. And then when it comes time to really finish up a prop, you're gonna switch to sandpaper and just sand it down. You polish it essentially with sandpaper.
Can you remold that waste?
The small pellets?
Yeah.
No, sir, that is unfortunately all waste. Once it's been truly dusted like that, it is waste. But when it comes to like big blocks, we hold on to any kind of bit and bob that we can. But the little chunks, they're mixed with like sawdust and all the other crud, and so it's not pure enough to reconstitute. Any otte questions, y'all? All right. Reattach it to its body. You know, there's a lot of ways to work with these things. Now, this is that material I mentioned earlier that we used to make the clothes. We also use it to make the flame on the flamey guy earlier. What it is, nobody knows what it's called. It's a packing material, essentially. But we use it for clothes because it comes in these big bolts. So you can, you know, Project Runway style, just make it work, designers. You really tailor it straight onto the prop. And then you do have to paper mache it before you props from previous years of Mardi Gras. So almost everything that you're going to see in here has been in at least one parade over the years, with a few exceptions. So you're not allowed to advertise on your clothes during the 12 days of Mardi Gras. So if you see anything in here that looks like an ad, you can usually assume it wasn't in a parade. Now for the parades that take place outside of the 12 days of Mardi Gras, the rules are much looser, but you're not going to get a parade for the theme. It's like, here are the props, and I like to give everybody a couple of minutes, just like 2 or 3 minutes, look around, take some photos, explore. In about 3 minutes, we're going to head this way, so I encourage you to stay in this area. After the tour, you can spend as much time up here as you want.
Yeah. Scary heart.
After the tour, you can hang out here and look around more, take more pictures, so don't feel rushed. We're happy to have you. But now that y'all have seen some of the finished pieces, any questions, comments, concerns, things you're percolating on? All right, so what I like to focus on in this part of the tour is the floats and the parades and some of the nitty-gritty on how these things actually work, a little bit about the financing, some of the less sexy but still kind of important things to think about. So first off, if anyone has been confused what a float is, bam, that is a float. Technically, that is a super float, which means that it is super big. There are definitely smaller floats, so that's a second story. And you're gonna have about 40 to 60 people on each one of these things. So a lot of riders on these super floats. Now, as I said, not all floats are this big, so not all crews have decided to build super floats. The crews that use super floats are, you guessed it, super crews. Well, your biggest normal crew is 1,500. A super crew is 1,500 people plus. And the biggest super crew we have nowadays is 3,500 people. It's called Endymion, so it's very, very large. There aren't a lot of crews that are that big, but there's a few that are in like the 3,000, 3,500 range. Most crews are more in the like, 1,200 rather, range probably. So there's a big spread. Not all crews are equally large. Not all parades are trying to be the same thing. I think that's important to kind of emphasize for folks that it's not a competition. First off, there is no formal competition between these parades. And even beyond there not being a formal competition, a lot of these parades are just, they're different strokes for different folks. They're not all equally expensive. They're not all equally big. Some parades are happy to be smaller. They're happy to keep things reasonable in terms of cost, because that allows them to have more waiters, and you know, we've got a lot of hospitality and tourism industry stuff here. We've got a lot of people that like work for a living, you know what I mean, and don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to spend to join a crew. But then we also have the really elaborate, expensive, crazy crews that cost a couple grand to be in, and those are going to be some of the bigger ones. Those are mostly the super crews. Now, Why would you have more people? It has to do with the cost, how much money you're spending to join. So Mardi Gras Parade crews are not-for-profit social clubs. And in this case, put the emphasis in your head on the social club part more than the not-for-profit. A Mardi Gras crew is a lot more like a fraternity in college than like Habitat for Humanity. I'm not saying they never do outreach or charity. Some of these crews are very good about charity and outreach. Most of them, that's not their main priority though. They're really about the social component. But they're not for profits, which means that they are not selling tickets, they're not selling merchandise. Like I mentioned at the last stop, they're not allowed to advertise on their floats, so they don't really bring in a lot of sponsorship money. So they don't have a lot of ways to raise money, frankly. But this is a very expensive hobby. All this stuff costs money. So the main way that a crew is going to raise their funds is by charging every member an annual due. So with very few exceptions, everyone on a float during a parade is paying to be there. And the way I like to look at it is they're the hosts of the parade. Just like if you host a party, you spend the money, you spend the effort and time to organize it, and then you kind of get to be the center of attention during the party. That's kind of the same way a parade is. You're spending the money and the time to make it happen, but then you get to be on the floats during the actual parade. So you can see the logic. Bigger floats allows you to attract more riders, which allows you to grow your crew larger, which means you have more taxpayers. And if you have a couple thousand people, it puts you in a very different world of math than if you have a couple hundred people. You know, with a couple hundred people, if you want a really expensive parade, everyone's putting in a lot of money. With a couple thousand, you can raise a lot of money and spread the pain around. You know what I mean? So like Endymion with its 3,500 members, it costs about $2,000 a year, I think, to be an Endymion. Which is not cheap, but that's not crazy either. You know what I mean? That's manageable for a lot of people. But 2,000 times 3,500 is $7 million. That is a lot of money, and it has allowed Endymion to grow into quite an elaborate parade. I mean, they're not my favorite. I don't think they're the best, but they're physically the longest parade. They're one of the most elaborate, one of the most expensive parades. Let's put it into perspective. Endymion has so much money, they have built the dumbest float in Mardi Gras. It's a giant TV screen, Jumbotron TV on wheels, with a camera on it, and it shows the audience back to itself. That is an objectively stupid float. It's also objectively awesome, and people go bananas for it, and everyone loves to see it at the parade, but that's some like silly stuff, you know what I mean? And that's kind of, it's because they have so much money and so much, they've got more money than sense, I guess is what some people might say. And so they're able to kind of experiment with doing some other stuff. But any questions, y'all? Unfortunately, no. It's like a liability thing. It's a big part of why I think our music culture is so well developed here in New Orleans, is that these young musicians get like a whole lot of practice. Because marching in the parade is not, I was not in band, but it does not seem easy by any stretch of the imagination. Now, your shortest parade, 14 floats is amazing. 45 floats. You're not supposed to have more than 45 floats on your parade. Now, if any of y'all are really thinking the math through though, that might be me, right? So that big crew I was telling you about Endymion, how does that work? Does that mean they're going to have to tell 1,000 plus people, I know you paid, but this is not your year, you're the short straw? That's obviously not going to go over well if people have already given you a couple grand of their money. So all of those green floats we were standing by, it looks like 3 floats, right? 1, 2, 3 with the same paint job. That's actually 1 float though. And that's because all 3 of those are going to be hitched to each other and then hitched to 1 tractor. And that tractor's going to pull them like a big old train. These train-type floats, we have a name for them. They're called tandem floats. And as the rules currently exist, a tandem float is the one. Physics is the only thing that keeps you from having an infinitely long parade. You know what I mean? And if you're curious about the physics, you can get 5 super floats on 1 tractor and still make it to the end of the parade in 1 piece. So that means some of the long parades are real long. Endymion this year, with its 3,500 members, had 106 float units in it. And like 15, 20 marching bands or something. At a parade, it's a little tiring. Imagine being on a float for 8 hours though. And then imagine the question that I'm going to get on every tour right now. Where's the bathroom? Open those doorways up, and there's a little porta potty outhouse type setup in there. I'm sure it's not the Ritz-Carlton, but it is going to get the job done better than a hole in the bottom of the float at least. Not that I know of, we weren't in this warehouse for any training, so I don't know about the I'm only 18, so I basically didn't exist during the training. They had like no damage from what I was told, and they were actually at basic course as much as she. Yes, ma'am.
That one. Clint Eastwood, ain't it?
Yes. When it comes to like, I don't know exactly because most of them actually build the floats. We do it in their warehouses. So we bring we would bring them in the video that looks like it's not there. But my assumption would be in the days we go to India, we're going to send some of our artists to go pipe things down, basically. You're right, stuff gets done in the warehouse. If you can see it, it's not a Now, this is going to be our final stop together, which is Pixie, the sculpting robot. Looks like she's not turned on at this moment, but I don't know, Eddie might be setting her up. It looks like he's finally working for her. Most of the time he just sits there soaking up money. But here's Pixie. You can look through these windows and see her hanging out on her track. It looks kind of like a scorpion tail, but she's inactive. If you're familiar with CNC routers, you can think about her as being a really complex CNC. Technically, she's not, but it's the right way to think. If you're not familiar with CNCs, it means computer numerical control. Essentially, it means you're pre-programming everything she does. So, the fellow I was just making fun of, Eddie, is one of the people who runs the robot. The toolpath is the actual program that tells her how to move. So the most recent thing that she did is Juvenile. You know the rapper Juvie? This is Juvie right here. Yeah. I don't know what parade he's going to, but so that's Juvenile. He is going to need a little bit more work done by hand. This is a good example of a piece that looks very good. Like they did a great job with him, but he still is going to need a little bit of cleanup by hand. They'll probably go through and kind of, his shirt looks a little plastic, you know what I mean? So they'll probably go through and kind of add some wrinkles and creases into that to make it look a little bit more realistic. His face looks good, but they might need to go refine some of the details around his face a little bit. And then of course, they're gonna have to actually mount him onto a wooden frame. So someone's gonna have to basically carve a big route out the middle of Juvenile and then stick a popsicle stick in there. Essentially, that's what we call it, but it's a big 4x4 wooden stake, essentially, that's gonna actually run through and support him. But the last thing I wanna tell you, and then y'all are free to look around some more, who used to work for the company starting, I think in the 50s or the 60s. She started as a secretary, and over the course of her life and career, she rose through the ranks from secretary to eventually become the executive vice president of the company, and was one of the head honchos. So when Miss Pixie passed away, we wanted to make sure we paid our respects to her. So we named the robot for her, and they also put Pixie herself into the mural on the back wall. So depending on your angle, if y'all are further that way, you might have more trouble seeing her because she's right at the crook of the robot's arm. So the robot could be blocking her if you're far enough to the right. But if y'all are over here with me, she's right underneath the drill bit of the robot. And she's the queen of Mardi Gras. So she's in kind of a yellowish white gown with a big old collar, clamshell collar, and a tiara, kind of smiling over towards Juvenile because she's saying, he's looking kind of fine, you know what I'm saying? So that is Miss Pixie Knackhand, the real deal in the painting. And if you don't trust me, because you're a hater, I've got the receipts to prove it. I've got a photo of Miss Pixie right here, so you can see that is her in the painting. They just kind of de-aged her a little bit, like De Niro in The Irishman. But that way we can keep Miss Pixie close. She can keep me mostly honest, keep the artist mostly on schedule. I don't want to think too hard about the fact that we're putting her to work in the afterlife, but I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. Thank you very much, y'all, for your time and attention and questions. Like I said earlier, we're happy to have you spend as much time in here as you want to. If you lost your bearings, it's a big circle. So down here to the left is back into the gift shop. Down and to the left. Down and to the right is going to put you into paper mache and paint. I think I just did a year, like a week ago. Yes, ma'am. Like a week. It was pretty fast for me. I mean, sometimes it takes longer.
That's, ugh, little snake. That's, a lot of people like that skull stuff. Yeah, because if we go this way, then we can see everything we missed. So that's up to you. We'll go this way. We'll find them. That's what's her name? Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors. Ooh, look at this one. I really like that one. Follow the lights on it.
Shows half the whole world.
Now it's 9 cars long, but each one of those cars is about a third the size of one of these. So it's not that much bigger, just smaller. Well, Pontchartrain Beach is in Individual. That one is a different story. It is also 9 cars long. Only those boats are minimally smaller than these. I think they hold 45 to 50 riders instead of 60. And if we have that lined up in our warehouse, you can extend it from the bay door. All right. Let's head down to the robot room for our final stop.
Peacock is beautiful. This is so pretty. So they have McGruff the crime dog. Didn't expect to see him here. That's the guy from Kiss there. Oh, two of them from Kiss. Yeah.
You see, he's got his tongue out.
Mm-hmm.
You got it right? Oh, I know it. And you got Kiss right over there. Right there. Yeah, that's it. You wanted to stop it?
Yep. That big dinosaur. It's so pretty. Grandma. Oh Lord, Mom. Devil in disguise. I don't know if I can fit through here, Lola. Let me see if I can find a different way in. You're right. I see that. That is my favorite word. It's my favorite word.
We'll go this way.
Well, I don't know if we can go that way. Hold up. You got a canine. I already got Sleeping Beauty. Yes, Lola. Oh yeah, dancing grandma. I think that's King Kong there.
A snowman?
Domino snowman. Ooh.
Felt like before we were giving them away.
Yes. It's it is a lot to see. I think it was worth the money though.
Yeah.
It was what, $22 for each adult,
17 for them,
17
14 for them.
for you since you're a senior, and 14 for the kid. Oh, it's Buzz Lightyear.
Is they putting that one together?
Probably so, yeah. What do you say? They still got 29 days to go?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty spectacular. That's Roger Rabbit.
Hey,
So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up our video of Mardi Gras World in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm glad we actually went there. It was nice to see where the floats are actually built. This was our ticket. Once we paid admission to get in there, that was your ticket to beads.
Well, you had different prices. You had an adult price, then you had a senior citizen price, then you had a child's price.
You paid what, $75 for the 4 of us?
Yes,
I think it was worth it though, because
it was.
if you're not from here, you don't get to see that kind of stuff. Because
Well, not.
like I say, where we're from, Mardi Gras does not exist.
Well, that's the only thing. I learned a lot from going there today because I didn't know all that stuff they told us.
Yeah, Mardi Gras always starts on January 6th every year. Then,
It's 6
it
weeks.
goes, anyway, it's got something to do with Easter and Lent. So this year, I think he said it's a short Mardi Gras season.
Yeah.
Because Easter is at the end of March this year. New Orleans gives them 12 days to do parades because it's such a big thing. They got so many crews there that does it. And like, I think some of the parades can last, what, 8 to 12 hours?
Yeah.
Because they get the parades just going so much. And like that long float that you saw in the video, that's just one float. Even though it's 3 sections, it's
3
one
sections,
float.
and it's double decker.
And we also found out that since the parades are so long, they put porta potties in them so people can go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but if you've never been and you want to come, I'd probably never come back to New Orleans, but I'm getting too old for
That was some traffic to get
But
there.
that traffic is, you know
It was-
what?
Like, where we're from, we can go in the Charleston, South Carolina traffic. New Orleans, Louisiana traffic's slightly worse. Maybe it was the time of day, because it was like midday whenever we got there.
Yeah,
But they got the ramps and everything, just like Charleston does. They got water, so
they got one
it
there
was
all the
quite
way around.
congested. It was on.
But it was very interesting. I was very impressed what we was shown and what was told in
We had an excellent tour guide. His name was Mac.
MAC.
M-A-C. He spelled it several times. He said you could do Google reviews on him and everything else. He was awesome. And they have a different tour guide apparently for each tour that goes out. And they also give you a slice of king cake. Now, we had never had king cake before. If you watched our Mardi Gras video last year, we did try the king cake ice cream that Van Leer's or whatever that company is that's really weird puts out. And that was pretty tasty, but I have to say the cake itself was better.
Yeah.
And apparently it's a glorified cinnamon roll.
And I'm glad I didn't find the whatever.
The baby. Because he
baby
said
in
if you
there.
find the baby, that means that you've got to either bake or buy a king cake yourself. And then you have to hide a baby. And then whoever finds the baby there has to either buy a cake or do a cake. So he said it's just a grand pyramid scheme. So Mom's already going into the stuff I bought today before I can even go to show it. So we did get the beads right here. If you've ever watched my videos, you know I am a truly, truly big alligator person. So look at my magnet. It's got New Orleans on it, and it's got the alligator with the Mardi Gras beads on it. I thought it was so cute. And then got some alligator beads. This was only $4. That magnet was $10. Isn't that pretty? And then since I probably will never go back to New Orleans ever again, you know I love an alligator, so I got the alligator that's got the Mardi Gras hat on it, and it's also got New Orleans stamped on it, so I thought that was cute. I wanted a t-shirt, but all the t-shirts I like were only in small or medium. That does not work for somebody of my size. Might could have bought 3 of them and sewed them together or something. But that was very nice. I truly enjoyed that.
I wish that would have been a whistle.
No. This is fine the way it is.
Alligator whistle.
But they had a really nice gift shop. Really nice. I did not get that oven mitt though.
I can make that.
Well, I don't know if you can make it in an alligator design, but it was pretty. But it was $14, so I was like, I'd rather blow my money on something else.
Well, you did.
I did. Bought the Mardi Gras alligator itself.
But we had a good time.
We did. Like I said, it was
Like I
truly
say,
worth the time
I
and
was
effort.
so glad.
And also, I wore my Mardi Gras tie-dye t-shirt I bought last year in Mobile, Alabama.
I was glad
At the
that
Mardi Gras Museum.
Chris was off today, and he
Did all the
me
driving.
around.
He did all the driving. We went. It was kind of funny. We left out of Florida because we're staying in Florida right now on vacation. So it's not that far to Louisiana from where we're at in Florida. We're like in the Pensacola Beach area right now. And so we went through Alabama, and then we stopped at Mississippi, and we stopped at Louisiana. So we went to Louisiana Visitor Center. And the man said, "Can I have your zip code?" So I gave it to him and stuff, and he said, "Oh, I thought that was in Georgia." I'm like, "No, it's in South Carolina." So he's like, "You gonna stay in New Orleans for the night?" I said, "No." I said, "We're going back to Florida." He's like, "I'm confused." So then another lady came out, and I said, "I know it's gonna sound stupid." I said, "But we're from South Carolina. However, we're going back to Florida this afternoon because apparently they wanted people to stay in New Orleans
They really pushed the New Orleans
for the
thing.
Mardi Gras." And they were very helpful
if
inside of
you
there
look
too.
In your bag, didn't you put that paperwork in that bag?
I did. If you want to go get it, because if anybody's ever watched our videos, they know we do a long closeout anyway. I picked up everything because the lady's like, you might want to come to Louisiana for something else besides just Mardi Gras. Well, don't tempt me. If I find some places that's got some big alligators, just might show up again. Who knows? I'm more of a swamp person, like the swampy areas. My mom's gonna bring out all the books I picked up at the Welcome Center. It's kind of funny, I picked up that and didn't even know where I was going. This is the brochure for Mardi Gras World. So it says where every day is Mardi Gras. So that right there is actually where we visited at and what this video is about. And good Lord, Mom, I wish I'd have paid attention to that. We could have saved money if we had took that in there. Look at that. $2 off adults and $1 off seniors and kids. So this right here gives the Louisiana history.
You saved on, I want to say $6.
I know, that's a shame. This right here talks about the different foods in Louisiana. So we did try the king cake today, and it's a circular yeast cake decorated with purple, yellow, and green sugars and containing a plastic baby. Served throughout the Mardi Gras season, the person who gets the baby provides the next king cake. And it's also talking about some other stuff on there. And then this paper talks about Cajun versus Creole. So then we got the Mardi Gras Eats. Celebrate carnival season with creative king cakes and inspired treats.
And this will tell you all about the events in it.
Yeah, this is the calendar of events for 2024 for January, February, and March. And that's what a whole king cake looks like right there. This right here was a nice map that we did not use, but showed where you could have parked for a cheaper price. I don't know what parking was. Chris paid all the parking today.
Yes, he did it.
This is the Louisiana travel guide. Might have to look in there to see where I can visit next. Won't be this year though. And then this right here, they said this is a collector's item, but they always pass them out free at the visitor centers in Louisiana. And this is Arthur Hardy's Mardi Gras guide. And then we also got a Louisiana map. So now we can officially say that we have been there because we always pick up a map everywhere we go. So that was what we got. Truly enjoyed it. And
I wish you looked at
so
it.
how did I know because they said money you could have got out for $69 instead of $75. But we always say whenever we pronounce it, how do you say it? New Orleans or New Orleans?
Oh,
I know some people pronounce it New Orleans. So I guess it depends on where you're from. I pronounce it New Orleans. New Orleans. Some people know New Orleans. And New Orleans, I hear people say it that way too. I say New Orleans. I guess that might be the South in me, I don't know.
that's the southern part of it.
Yes, I was kind of hoping that we would really met some people today that was talking in the Cajun. I love to hear them talk. If you've ever watched Justin Wilson back in the day on ETV, I could listen to that man talk for hours. Made me want to visit Louisiana back whenever I was young. It only took me 43 years to get here. It took Mom 73 years to get them.
That's all right.
But you know what we always say, better late than never. So now, if you've been paying attention, we only now have one southeastern state left to visit, which is Arkansas. And that probably will happen sometime within the next year.
Maybe.
Might be this year, might be next year, but it'll happen at some point. And then I can say that I have visited the 12 southeastern states. Now today we were getting close to Texas because I saw a Bucky sign. It said Bucky's in 365 miles. So I knew we were getting close to Texas. Wouldn't have to come back to the hotel. I think we might just went fart. just to say we did. But anyway, that's going to do it for this one. I've been rambling on for 12 minutes now. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
And subscribe.
Please do. And this is probably gonna wrap up our Louisiana videos unless we ever come back. It's possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
So that's it for this one. So toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye.